In 2007 in Iraq, American journalist Thomas and his girlfriend Miriam are en route to an assignment with colleagues when they are attacked by armed locals. Miriam is shot and begins bleeding out before losing consciousness. The driver is shot dead, and cameraman Sebastian hides in fear. Thomas is shot in the knee and screams in pain. As the assailants close in on their car, a Georgian military unit arrives just in time, engaging in a fierce gunfight with the assailants. They manage to evacuate Thomas and Sebastian to the safety of their helicopters. Unfortunately, Miriam does not survive. A year later in Los Angeles, Thomas is watching the news and sees the conflict between Georgia and Russia escalating. Georgia's move towards the west and the problems with separatist regions are making relations with Russia worse, putting both on the edge of war. Afterward, Thomas video chats with Dutchman, another journalist in Georgia, who tells him that the military actions there aren't making the news and invites him to come and report on the situation. A few weeks later, Thomas and Sebastian arrive in Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia. That night, they meet Dutchman and two other journalists over drinks. Thomas mentions they are trying to get in touch with Captain Rizzo, who saved his life in Iraq a year ago, and they plan to head to Tskinvali. Michael is surprised at their decision to visit the separatist capital, implying that the border's tensions are high and dangerous. Dutchman offers that he knows a local guide who might be helpful. The next evening, they arrive at a village to meet with Dutchman's contact, where a local wedding is taking place. Sebastian captures this happy moment on film, while Thomas can't take his eyes off a woman named Tatia, who is the bride's sister. On the news, the Georgian president claims that they will maintain a ceasefire as long as possible, but conflict continues to escalate in the border areas where they have lost control over the actions of the separatists. At midnight, they meet the local guide in the parking lot, who informs them that troops are entering the conflict zone and roads are being closed. They have to move fast. Suddenly, a few jets appear in the sky and fly towards them. Sebastian recognizes them as Sukhois on a bombing run. As Thomas rushes to warn everyone, the jets begin dropping bombs and firing at people, and the guide is killed in an explosion. Thomas runs inside and throws himself on top of Tatia to shield her. After the jets leave, the wedding turns into a nightmare with casualties everywhere. Sebastian attempts to document the tragedy, while Thomas helps treat the injured. Tragically, the groom has not survived. Later, with Tatia's assistance, they rush two critically wounded villagers to the nearest hospital. The following day, after reporting from outside a hospital, Thomas calls his producer, Karen, who informs him that the networks are all focused on covering the Beijing Olympics and aren't giving much attention to their situation. She also mentions that everyone is taking the Kremlin's line that Georgia attacked first. Despite the lack of media attention, they continue documenting the situation at the hospital, where they bump into Tatia. She tells them that she can't get in touch with her father and sister, Sophie. They suggest she takes a break, so the trio sit at a cafe. Tatia receives a call from her aunt, who informs her that her family has been taken to a village for shelter, and Tatia decides to go find them. Thomas and Sebastian offer to help as they see the missing family reunion could be a good story for the networks. That night, Sebastian finally contacts Captain Rizzo, who is heading in the same direction, and agrees to escort them for part of the journey. Meanwhile, the situation escalates further. Russian forces have taken control of Tskinvali, and the Georgian president orders his troops to resist and calls for help from other countries. However, they learn that the U.S. will not intervene. The next morning, they meet with Rizzo and set out. Rizzo warns Thomas to avoid people wearing white armbands because they are dangerous mercenaries assisting the Russians in cleansing the villages. He advises them not to try to hide or film. They should run immediately. After some time, they part ways with Rizzo and continue their search for Tatia's family. Finally, they find Sophie and her father in a village inn, along with another family. The next day, Thomas wakes up and heads to an apple orchard, enjoying a brief moment of peace as he eats an apple. Suddenly, he sees a group of armed personnel with white armbands and tanks approaching the village. He rushes back to warn everyone to run away, but it's already too late. They swiftly take cover as the mercenaries gather the villagers by the river. Their leader, Daniil, demands to see the mayor and the chief of police. When no one responds, he forcefully grabs an elderly woman and shoots her, threatening the two men to step forward. Daniil orders his men to execute them and set their bodies on fire while Sebastian films everything on his camera. Daniil then commands a brutal cleansing of the village. As the villagers attempt to run away, helicopters bomb the area and open fire on them, while the mercenaries kill and loot anything they can. As Thomas and the others quickly find places to hide, a young soldier enters to search the area. Just then, the child's cry reveals the family's location, and they plead for mercy. The soldier decides to spare them, reporting back that the area is clear. However, the child makes noise again, causing the mercenaries to demand that they come out. To protect the family, Thomas and Tatia's family reveal themselves, leading to a confrontation during which Thomas is hit in the face. When Daniil shows up and discovers they are journalists, he then takes them back to their base. After learning they are war reporters, Colonel Alexander demands the password for their memory card, but only discovers it contains wedding footage. They are then locked in a cell, where Sebastian reveals to Thomas that he hid the real memory card in the location where they were captured. After interrogating Tatia's father, who betrays them, Thomas and Sebastian are taken away separately. Just as Daniil is about to torture Sebastian to reveal the location of the memory card, Rizzo's team breaks in through the windows, having come to their rescue after learning of their situation. A fierce gunfight ensues, and they fight their way to the basement to rescue the others but leave Tatia's father behind. The colonel orders his subordinates to catch them. Rizzo's team hastily drives away while engaging in gunfire with the enemy's vehicle chasing them. Thomas instructs Rizzo to meet later before he jumps from the moving vehicle. He runs back to the village where he successfully retrieves the memory cards. As the squad continues their escape, both sides exchange gunfire. A tank fires at them, but luckily misses. Tragically, Sophie is killed in the crossfire. Rizzo's soldiers use a rocket launcher to target the enemy's vehicle, destroying it and allowing the team to flee. Thomas makes it back and quickly jumps into the car. Afterward, Rizzo's team escorts them back to the city, where they find everyone evacuating. A soldier informs them that they received orders from the president to abandon the city and return to protect the capital. Rizzo takes them to a broadcast center to send out their footage before leaving to defend the city, but they find the gate is locked. Russian armed helicopters begin bombing the city in a final sweep. As the trio tries to find shelter before the ground troops arrive, they bump into Dutchman, who happens to have a satellite upload vehicle. Thomas is concerned about Tatia's safety and takes her to a nearby church filled with refugees, promising to find her later. They then rush to the uplink vehicle to start uploading the footage. Just then, an armed helicopter appears and targets them, forcing everyone to quickly take cover. Realizing it won't finish in time, Sebastian takes out the memory card and escapes just seconds before the vehicle explodes. As the helicopter continues to attack, a bomb strikes towards them. Thomas manages to get to his feet and sees the other journalists killed in the explosion and finds Sebastian seriously injured. As the ground troops close in, Sebastian insists that Thomas take the memory card and get to safety. Thomas heads back to the church for Tatia, but she is nowhere to be found. A little girl shows him a photo on the phone left by Daniil, indicating that he has taken Tatia. Thomas immediately calls Daniil, who instructs him to bring the memory card to Stalin Square for a trade. Shortly after, Thomas arrives at the square and exchanges himself and the memory card to get Tatia back. When Daniil checks the memory card, he finds it empty. Thomas reveals that the real one is on its way to the human rights group with a little girl. Daniil points a gun at him and a shot rings out. Thomas opens his eyes and finds Daniil dead on the ground. It turns out the young soldier from earlier saved him. On August 12, 2008, both parties sign a ceasefire agreement under international pressure, bringing the 5-day war to an end. At the hospital, Sebastian is rescued, and their footage gains worldwide attention.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our channel for more videos.